I personally cannot see that, but
And
can
how you doing?
yeah, I'm good. Can you confirm for me if you see anything on YouTube?
Okay, checking out. Yep, I can see live. The OBS is up.
Okay, and now it's going to be a Photoshop. Oh, here we go. Right, it's whoa, that is a delay. Okay.
It is a bit of a delay.
Yeah, because it's just switched to for me and it's still OBS and
Yeah,
now I'm gonna go into Photoshop and stuff.
because yeah,
Yeah,
I'm seeing your Discord now.
yeah. Yeah, now it's a Discord and yeah, it's gonna be a Photoshop. All right. So I guess it's gonna be live, real life for Discord people? Or
Mhm.
maybe not. Nah, it's pretty nope.
Yeah, you're also live on YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube goes. All right, let's start then. Anyways, so if you guys have any questions, there's 3 people watching on YouTube and I don't know how many people. 3 of us on Discord. That's a crowd. Okay, let's start with the summer to winter mid kind of term submission review. So I got 13 submissions and I'll go based on difficulty from easy to hard and how many basically submissions per image. I think that would be probably easier than going back and forth. So let's start with this one. This one was basically made labeled as easy difficulty. It was my also personal choice. If I would go for this challenge, I would pick this image. Seems like pretty straightforward. And we have one submission in it. So this submission from Kimtao, I will probably butcher a bunch of names. I'm really sorry about that because I have no idea if I'm pronouncing this right or wrong. So this one, the plate is kind of warm, so I guess yeah, the first thing would be to change a little bit to the cool temperature. And here's this submission from Kim Tao. I have to point out, to me, this challenge is more of a technical challenge than creative one. So I would keep as much plate untouched in the creative way as possible. Like you can change the temperature. There was obviously the task to change the sky. I wouldn't change mountains here, like this one's, because if you compare them to the plate, it's drastic difference, like crazy. It you can kind of sell it as a little bit different area. So if we do summer to winter, and if we go like full on, hey, this is the industry kind of like um, season change, then I wouldn't touch this. You also bringing a lot of details here, which is the plate kind of shows. What is this? This guy. Um, the plate kind of shows the amount of haze and amount of details you're going to see in the distance, and this one is bringing a lot of sharpness and details, which is you're going to blur them at the end anyways, or there is a big difference between your element and the actual plate element. So I would do something about that. Overall, it's a good start. Like I like this change with the snow. The grass looks pretty dead and everything. And yeah, I guess the biggest part for me would be to change. Um, oops, to change this area the most. So then you can sell. Okay, there is a winter going on. Like if you find that snowbank which is covers up to here, then you'll set and you don't have to, you know, do the cleanup or restore whatever behind this, which is should be like somewhere like here. You can see a little bit of a city, I guess. But if you find the element you can cover it, you don't have to worry about it. Then you just have to basically work with this area, this guy, like here, here, here. And that's all basically you need. You just need to go and just keep refining and keep adding. It seems like it's a good amount of color range here. Like I have references for that stuff, and if you take a look, for example, here, like these guys, they're all wintry dead, but they still have color differences. Like those far away, because they're hazed, they don't have that. But these guys, for example, they still have some, and the fields, they still have the color differences in in the shades. They're not completely, like, you can still see a little bit of a green, a little bit of a like different shades of brown and all that kind of stuff. So I think this one's not too bad. It has a little bit, but I would bring some of it maybe a little bit more. So the other thing, like you have to go back and forth between your between your basically plate and what you're doing. So the shadows, your shadows here, like it's crazy blue, and here it goes obviously into you know brownish sort of color, because you're color correcting it. If you look at the image references, what do we have here? Like we kind of have to go obviously with bluer ones. Here you can't really tell anything here. Maybe here. Like, yeah, like you can see it's on the ground, it's still blue. It's blue here, it's blue here. It's blue here because you're reflecting actually in your shadows you're reflecting the sky, and the sky is supposed to be blue like this guy. It's all in the snow though. Yeah. I mean it's bluish, but overall you don't really. Yeah, you kind of see that too. So it's that. Yeah, overall, I think it's a very good start. So I wouldn't worry about this guy, and I would just continue with replacing and adding the snow and color correcting, like balancing it out. And yeah, majority would be here. Okay, go to the medium. So we have only one easy. The rest people were like, okay, we're feeling like a challenge, so let's do medium and difficult, or hard one. So this one kind of like, I think this is the most straightforward one in terms of what to do with this, and where to find the references, and how to tackle. So let's go with first one from Peter. Again, this is in my mind more technical challenge, so I wouldn't change or add mountains or anything like this. Sky replacement is fine, but the landscape I think should stay the same. No snow, no rain, nothing like this. Not usually, it's kind of a rule. Like you don't add this weather conditions into your matte painting, because it has to be, if it's gonna change to that, it has to be animated, it has to be comp, it has to be effects, it has to be whatever, but it's not gonna be a matte painting. So no snow. Watch out for your light source, because so far you have in the sky, here's your brightest area. So your sun's supposed to be somewhere there. You have the sun, something coming from this side, and you have something coming from this side, I think, because you have the shadows and the lights here. Those guys, they need to go. It has to be a cleanup. And no mountains. It's a little bit too blue also. If you compare it to the plate, you're losing, I mean, it could be a snow, but to me, you kind of losing too much of a color here, so it becomes a little bit too color corrected. It's not too bad. Like, I like the snow and like the treatment on the rooftops. I think the road needs just either snow or kind of like snow with the car tracks and stuff. A little bit harsh in here. I would fix this. I would probably, because it's, you can tell there's like fringing going on. Same here. It's a lot of age issues to me. What else? What else? What else? What else? Yeah, the color of the snow so far is all over the place. Like this one is more magenta, neutral but magenta. This one is heavily cyan, and you go back into this, which is a little bit, I guess, all over the place to me. But it's a good start, and it's the whole week. I guess you can I would say you can fix it in a week easily. What else do we have on this one? Okay. Okay, let's go into another one from Tower Junkyard. That wasn't it. You said you're working on 4K. Unfortunately, the submission was, I think it was like not even 2K, probably.
And it's pretty low res, but
I blew it up a little just to match, so I can go like between back and forth, and it's yeah. So here, with the snow and everything, overall temperature is a little bit to me too blue. Like I would keep it. I mean, it's kind of already sort of, it's either late fall or beginning of the winter. So I don't know. I would go and do something here. Can I find something here? Which is nope. Nope. No. Something which is warm enough. Yeah, maybe. Oh, it's too much.
it's come out super good though.
Like
I was quite impressed.
which one? Oh, you mean
The tower junkies?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, overall it feels great. I would just like that's so for yeah, like for Peter's basically it's this is like the road here. It's yeah, what I would expect to see road in Peter's work. This is supposed to be something on the road. So it looks really pretty natural to me. This part is not so far. Like you can see there is a huge kind of, it's difference in everything. It's difference in the shade, it's difference in the quality, I would assume, if I would see the 4K. So I would probably work on this part a little bit more. Yeah, maybe a little bit less overall coolness, or like less blue, more of a kind of, can I find some, maybe, yeah, maybe that would do. Like just a touch back to have a difference, like good color difference. But overall, it's really strong. To me, it's really strong. It's really nice. Really want to see an update. Like what's gonna happen? The sky replacement. If I would, again, I mean it's with the mountains, but this mountains at least, if I wouldn't see the plate, I probably wouldn't guess it. So like, or be against it so much because they're super pushed back. They don't really change. Well, I mean, they change overall. If we go from like one, if it's the same location, say in a time lapse, obviously it's going to be a mountains. But if say we're not as strict and okay, we can add something, then this is really good job. Hmm?
Hello.
Hello. Thanks.
Sorry,
There's something on the background, either TV or something like this.
I'll turn off my sound. I think that might be mine. Oh, where's the sound?
Okay, yeah, that's better. Okay, so let's go into another one from, I want to say Pranil, I guess. So this was on the website on MattePaint, was labeled as a sky replacement with the mountains. So I guess people adding mountains. Okay, I'm gonna be cool with this. Mountains, sure. So for the sky replacement, the whole thing is lifted, crazy lifted. So it looks like it's HDRI photo instead of just a plate. I know we're not working in perfect conditions and it's a neutral graded plate and everything like that, but it's just to me too much. It's a little bit too Christmassy overall. So I would dial back the whole contrast thing and I'll bring it back to the plate. Sky could be like this. I'm not really against it. I mean, it seems like the nice sort of evening sky, which might work. You would need to have, if you have any sunlight, which is you probably want. I would add maybe like a touch of sun on the rooftops here and there just to show what's going on in your sky. But overall, I think it might work. I don't know. I need to see an update on this because it's kind of hard to tell. It's sort of in the same crazy colorful area with like the plate. Also the people needs to go because they need to be cleaned up. And yeah, let's see what's gonna happen next. So next one from Isaiah. This is definitely work in progress, but this is so much stuff going on right off the bat, and I don't even know if it goes into the right direction. That's my main problem with this, because we already have replaced elements here and there, like they're gone, like those houses gone for some reason. I don't really know why. We never stated it has to be like 100%. I was talking about that in my tutorial and I was mentioning that in my article. Obviously it was no like strict rule as far as I remember. Like if we go here, it says summer to winter, blah blah blah. Let's choose one of the images. We can complete multiple. Yeah, so the color temperature, replace the sky, and studied foliage, pine trees, and all kind of stuff. So explicitly we didn't say don't replace and we didn't say replace it. So I guess it's up to you, and it's gonna be a community, judged anyways. To me, if it would be any way of like professional or serious competition in matte painting, this would be no go from the beginning because you're changing too much. Also, you're adding a lot of work for yourself. I don't know why, but sure, could go. So yeah, so far it's really hard to tell. There's no I mean, there is some of cleanup, but it's not completed. There is a road change with under texture, which has to be also fixed, and added snow on top, I think. Let's see if Tower Junkie did this. Yeah, if you guys adding, I would add a little bit of a snow on top of this railings and on top of those bushes, just a little bit, so you can have a little bit more of a snow presence. So same here. The sky could work, I guess. I mean, I'm not against it. It seems like a pretty in the same realm with. Oops. Oh, okay. It's not a change. I see why, because it's not a change. Yeah. So far, it's a first step, I guess. Yeah, could be anything. We shall see next week. Okay, let's switch to the medium one. So majority of the plate is basically trees and this field. So I would assume people would go change the sky and gonna play a lot with color correction or infrared or whatever channel selection to add a snow. The thing is, in this one, you basically can keep majority of your foliage as is. You just have to downplay it a little bit, because like if you look closely, like this guy, like this, here, those and those, and this area, those are just regular trees. The rest is evergreen, so they can stay the same. They might need a little bit of like a selection on the highlights, and you convert that into the snow, and you change this thing and the sky. And I think, yeah, that would be a success. And obviously like rooftops and everything like this. So see what people did. So first one from Sean. That's a pretty good one. Really like it. It has this nice cinematic feel to it. A little bit monochrome to my taste. And also if you compare like this area, this contrast on this area works because of the sun position here. So in your case, you're changing the sun position, so everything has to be silhouetted, which is kind of a lot of work if you think about it. But this one would be also a little bit more contrast, I have to say. And maybe I would either haze it out, because your sky is quite dark. Like the sky is supposed to be the brightest area of the image. So your blues still has to be a bit brighter, or your whole thing has to be a touch darker. But if we play by the rule, we're not changing a lot of plate, then your sky needs to be brought up, I would say, quite a bit. The overall thing, I like the change, and I like this, switch to the snow. The thing to pay attention to, let's see if the light direction now is right. Okay. So don't see, yeah, big problem with the light direction. So now what I see is, because you changed this to this and you used photos, and you changed this to this and you used filters, you have a huge difference in the color range. Like this one is almost monochromatic. It's not black and white, it's black and a little bit of magenta and red, which is this one has blue. So I would either bring this to this, and I would also keep a little bit of the green, but downplay that green like a lot. Like you go like this probably was. This is yellows, even not even green. They're all yellows, right? Yeah, so I would just like go cooler and down. Maybe something like this. Maybe like, I don't know, 80%. Anyways, but I would bring some back. And also, if you have a light like this, then you would have a lot of rim light on your trees, which is either you have to paint or you need to change the sun and basically just move it off frame to save. You can still keep all of this and everything else. I would just move the sun because it suggests like this guy's is for some reason too bright. It doesn't need to be that bright. And yeah, overall, like with this extreme almost sunset position, you need to have more contrast, shadows and light everywhere. But overall, it's really good. I like this a lot. You also added snow on top of this. Be careful with the edges, because those edges then suggest your snow is on. If there would be a profile of your this beam, then your snow is kind of like on the side here, but not like everywhere, because you have this, which suggests on top or on that side is somehow not covered. Here as well. But overall, it's pretty good. And there is no extra mountain, which is crazy, because everybody likes extra mountains. Okay, the next one from Octasian. Sorry if I'm saying the names or your nicknames completely wrong, because I have no idea how to pronounce it. And I think maybe if on the website we need to add some actual real first names at least, so then you kind of like, you know you're not messing it up. So this one, I mean, this is the first step, but it more looks like it's just filtered image, which is, I understand what you're doing, but this is way too monochrome, and there's no, like, this is not gonna work as a snow because it's too flat. This area is too flat. I like the overall tone. Like it's really nice and mild. It's probably a little bit, at least in my monitors, a little bit too sort of cyanish. I would expect to be more on the blue side. And yeah, overall, I mean, as a first step, I think it's all right. You just need to then start doing the actual replacements of the elements, and I would suggest to look at what Sean did. And if you don't want to do sunset, you don't have to. You just need to find the elements, which is work, kind of same maybe type of the elements, but under the different time condition, and that should be a good start. So now I'm looking at this and I'm curious if I'm seeing, okay, if I do the exposure, no, that's not it. Okay, because I thought maybe I was, because then it suggests there'd be a sky replacement already here. But it's too flat, it's too monochrome. It's not gonna do it in this, unfortunately, in this direction. But for the first step, that's a good first step. It just need a little bit more, and it's gonna look good. Just gonna carry on. Okay, so we covered 2 mediums, and am I going too fast? If anybody, does anybody listen to me? Okay, there's 2 people in the voice chat. There is nothing in the live chat for the comments, and there are 11 people on YouTube. Okay, hey people on YouTube, do you think I should go slower, or this is okay pace? And yeah, this is a crazy delay. Okay, cool. Then let's continue. We'll probably be done in an hour. I mean, I'll have the time for like Q&A or any other questions or any topics you guys want to discuss about this. Yeah, after storm, after the, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's, I think it works like after like being after storm. It's just, it's, if we're talking about Octavian's work, it's just, to me it's like it's too flat. It needs to have difference, and the reason why it's flat, because there is no aerial perspective, there is no shift of color when it goes further from the camera. So yeah, but overall, yeah, this feel, if somebody was like, yeah, okay, that was a blizzard, and you know everything is covered with snow, it just needs to know, we need to bring into the actual like photo real level, because that's what it is all about. This is pretty much okay. Alejandro or Alexandro, I have a question. In the past submissions, I see the grass in the bottom. I just colored in white, but that realistic, or should it be covered totally in snow? Well, you can technically you can have both, I think. Let's see if like here you can see, okay, in you can see, you can have the grass like this, or you can play it as this kind of grass. You can see, here's a little bit of a bushes, so it's probably not the grass per se. Here's the grass basically on the ground, and I think this probably not too far into the winter. It's, I would say, maybe just the beginning. So, or they had a really like mild weather and everything just disappeared, and then the snow basically fall back again. But yeah, you can have a grass. Just keep in mind, it's like this grass also, it still has this shading variance, but yeah, it could work. I mean, I don't see a problem having a grass like this. It looks a little bit different usually than the actual grass on the field, but that could be. I don't see the problem. So let's switch to the hard difficulty. We have 4 here. So first, where should we go? One thing I noticed, so some people, because this is actually a panorama, so some people crop it differently. So I'm using this provided source as a plate. So I'm adjusting all submissions to it so I can go back and forth and see what's happening. But yeah, I've noticed some people have an extension of the sky a bit more than this, which is fine. There's no problem with this. Just for this review purposes, I just place them on on top of each other so you can see if you go before and after. So first one from Mike. So this one has good things and has, it's a first step as far as I remember. It has good things, had bad things. So not necessarily bad things. It's just things to be careful about. So the one, which is the first one I've seen here, here's a bending going on, which means there is not enough depth in the color. I don't really know if it's a compression. It is probably a compression, but because this is the only what I'm reviewing, so I would assume in a normal file, if you guys work in 16-bit, which is you should probably work in 16, and convert if you want to 8 later, and see if you have a bending, because you might have it, might not. So be careful about edges. Edges are crucial, basically, because it instantly tells you where one layer ends and another layer starts without even going back and forth. So if you go, oh, okay, I wouldn't bring too much of a contrast here, because then you're not really changing the contrast of your midground. You just basically desaturating it, but you're changing the midground of this, which automatically brings it forward and makes it look like they're stuck on each other. And like it couldn't be darker, like this area couldn't be darker than those trees. So those trees are dark, and everything what goes behind it, like this and this and this, guys, there's too much of a difference. It shouldn't be this way. Like the further you go, the basically brighter your elements are, because they're hazed with the atmosphere. So you can bring a little bit, if you want to see a bit more details, you can bring a little bit back. Like you can go, it's 8-bit, so it's probably not gonna cut that much. You can bring it like, I don't know, to this if you want to see something, and I don't know, maybe lifted those guys. If you go and do luminosity, right? Like you can play and play around, and maybe, okay, you can bring it, but you never go, like this area would never go darker than this one, which is, that's what's happening here. I like what's going on the rooftops. I think it's a really good idea, and I think it's really like here especially, it's a nice start. It looks a little bit painterly overall, but as a first pass and as a block-out, I would say yes. Here's, I assume it's also all block-out as well. Watch out for the, first of all, for this heavy traffic on the ground, giving a fact it's like somewhere in the middle of like village or something, or, and there's people going on. They in the winter they would probably go one or two they would probably gonna go and, you know, with one or two sort of like steps or like ways, paths, but not like this is more, which is, I assume, from this, which is a ski resort, and this is people are running around like crazy, and yeah, it's not really gonna be applicable. So I would expect on the hills would see the snow like this, which is majority would be just or, you know, this kind of, it's not the best example because it's too flat on this photo, but like here, like that's what you would probably see. this is just the snowbanks, and maybe like, okay, people are going here, like here and there, but this is that's not the past, but hopefully you know what I mean by that. Let's go back to it. Also, it looks like it's a nighttime. Maybe it's an idea. I have kind of like understanding that's the nighttime. But if it's not, then it's way too basically graded down than it should be, because it's overcast. But this is nice time, and it's way desaturated. It's all this color. It should stay. It should basically be, if we go and do, if we do masks, what's happening? Oops. Like, you would still see some color. Like say, okay, but you still would see some colors in like even in a trees. That should be your kind of a clue. Okay, it's not maybe as green here, but overall you should have something, because it's like all of these details, when you see the whole picture at the end, that's what makes it look, you know, real, because you have all this color differences. Like even here you have like, here's this and this. If you disable it, like there's nothing, and you still have, like, this is all the game about how can we select the elements, how can we, like, it's like doing roto of the very complex object. You go with the simple shapes, so you go with like simple, like small areas, and you change those trees, and then you change those trees, and you change this guy and this guy and this guy, and you can have a base color correction of all of them, but then you have to tune them differently to have like this evergreen guy, like this fear tree, like it should stay as like those guys, they could stay. You can color correct them a little bit. You can add snow, you can add you know, some like bits and pieces, but overall some of the elements, they could stay. You could just leave it like this. Okay, the leaves gonna be snow. Okay, somebody joined with the background noise.
Oh, so sorry.
That's
so
okay.
sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, so you can do this as a snow, but yeah, overall bit of a colors. Okay, so how's my saying? I've started this channel like 3 times now and watched the tutorial twice. It's so hard. I just can't get a grip on it. This is helping whole thing. Well, no worries. You're welcome. It's actually hard. Like the piece I was doing in the tutorial, it's easy in a way because you have like 3 or 4 areas and they're pretty straightforward. If you're gonna go and change entire landscape, it's a lot of work. Like that's why I said, to me, this one would be the most like straightforward, because okay, get rid of the people, add the snow here, 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 here. All the trees, you don't have to worry about it. Like add a little bit, like you can paint a little bit of a snow here, here. Yeah, snows on rooftops. Cool. Can paint it, can find the elements, change the sky. Majority of the problem probably going to be with those guys, which is you can either remove them, or you can actually select them and then do just do the cleanup for the sky, and then bring them as a shapes, and they would still work, because even if you zoom into it, like it's so heavily aberrated. Like there's a crazy chromatic aberration, which is you can remove it, and then you would have just you know, sort of colored shapes, so you can bring it back. You can change those on the for with the different winter trees. It still would work, and that's it. Like this is for 2 weeks. This is, to me, like the best choice. It's the right amount of time. This one, yes, it needs a little bit of thing. Not it's it kind of labeled as an easy, and I see why, but you still need to find like this area in the right perspective. You have to think, okay, what I'm gonna do with this grass, and there are cars, and there's a lot of grass here, which is you can still keep it, but you probably need to, like, this area is pretty much, whoop, that's not it, this one. It's this area. So you need to find picture, or you need to use this element and scale it down and see how it works here. So you need to introduce the snow. This one, if you color correct it right, and you can play it as, okay, that's the snow. You should bring, I mean, there is in the town there, so the town should just stay as it is. And yeah, so this is also doable in 2 weeks. I would say it's doable without any like additional changes. You just need to be worried about this guy here, but it's not too bad. And yeah, this guy, maybe, I don't know, cover, replace, your choice. This guy, okay, there's not many rooftops, and you go and you also done. This one, that's the tricky one, because you have to kind of maintain stuff, which is like Sean did. The best way is like, okay, let's change the time of the day and play it this way. This one, there's so many broadleaves basically, and you have to either cover them, or you have to replace them with a sort of like the same group of winter leafless trees. And you have this, and you have this, and I don't really know what I would do with this patch, because it's obviously midsummer or whatever, they're growing something. So I would just then put the snow, and you just select, and you just like remove, or do the masking for all the poles and all that kind of stuff. So it's not, that's kind of also doable in 2, but just my part, like biggest part would be, okay, what do we do here? And you can change it. You can replace half of it. You can keep those, play it as a snow. You can replace this guy with more of like a branch, dead branches, all that kind of stuff. Those guys, yeah, could be. You can add evergreens on top of them and just play it as a, it's the Christmas whatever, like fir trees, and they still stay the same. They maintain. Here you kind of, if you make them pointy, then just without zooming and seeing, oh, what, so it's painted, you could be like, nah, okay, it could be like a fir tree forest or whatever, like those guys. So that could work. Okay, let's go to Nathan. Nathan has the cleanup. I think it's more of an extension for now. I mean, technically it is a cleanup if you count this part. And yeah, it's the first step. I mean, yeah, it's a good extension. It's gonna be all covered with the snow, anyways. But yeah, good extension of the sky. There's something going on here, which is I think is probably Photoshop, either Photoshop extension or something. But yeah, it's easily hopefully right. Yeah. And yeah, no, thank you. How can I get rid of you? Close. Yeah. So it's a good start for the extension, but yeah, would be interesting to see more. Alejandro? How do you say your name, man? You're in the chat, right? Yes, you are. I'll wait. Okay. Man, this is less lag. I didn't know it would be so much lag. So Alexandro then. Okay. Anyways, Alexandro, right? Let's go. This one. So, yes, I assume. So I moved this just to have, oops, just to have before and after. Like your submission is a bit like this, which is fine. I'll go to the full one. Just I'll start, I guess, with the original position. So I like the sky replacement. I like the sky type. Be aware of the light source, because here it's from the opposite direction. So your light on these mountains are going from right to left. And overall, your here is more from this somewhere here to the right. Which is cool because you don't have to then add any other sort of a lot of light on the buildings or anything like this. It's to me, so like I wouldn't probably, again, so I would maybe you can keep the, if you really like them, you can keep them, there's no problem. Also the contrast difference, and I think there is a little bit of horizon issue. I would lower it all down because you kind of see like those guys are a little bit too high. Like like these guys, they feel like they're here somewhere, which is I would probably like basically lowered everything. Yeah, and less contrast because they're way too dark for that distance. It's too much. It's all overall it's a little bit contrasty, it's a little bit crunchy. Like it's all here. Like you cannot really see what's going on in the darks, like way too dark. I would still keep this range where you can see what's happening. I like the snow. The snow is pretty cool. It's heavily like um brought down in terms of the lightness, which is I think you need to bring it back. Yeah, same thing with like monochromatic buildings and these guys. I would bring this element, which is it from anything from here? Let's see if I can. No, it's not, right? Or maybe it is, but I just don't see it. No, probably not. Anyway, so if you keep this as a reference, like you bring it, and it seems like it's probably either overcast enough, maybe like you can bring down the exposure, and you keep the colors, because this is what it is. This is your perfect example what is happening, you know, in the winter time with this type of foliage, which is fine. It works because you kind of like playing it as a hill, which works. Like this part works to me. It doesn't work as a level of brightness, because it has to be at least this then, because I don't understand in my kind of head, I don't really understand why this is so. It's not even dark, it's just basically it's clipped. That's the word I'm looking for. It's clipped. So unclip it and bring it back, and yeah, let's see if you can bring back this one, and you bring back a little bit of a color, because the trees, if we keep in this, so the trees then they would look like this, which is fine. They would work. It's just they need to have still need to have a color in it, and it doesn't have to be precise. It just needs to indicate, oh, there is a color. Same like if you look at those guys, like there is still color happening. Fortunately, there's all bluish here. I think I need to find like winter sunset, but I wonder if it's gonna be like this one. Should also probably be maybe a little bit, if you keep this mountains, gonna flip it obviously, but maybe then you kind of have to push them back also a little bit, because I think they're from different type of the season, or they're different type of the day, or type the overall weather is different, so you can see further, which is still could work, but to me it needs to be a little bit pushed back. But overall, it's pretty good start. It's pretty good start. You just need to like all the ideas is there. You just need to kind of like, you know, check with your plate and see what you can keep, and what you can replace, but you know, be a little bit like you can play grass here. You can play this grass. Where is it? You can play it like this grass here. You can play it as this grass, like grass and snow. There's no problem with it. It's not gonna ruin. You can say, okay, you can still see stuff from the fall, and it's just a snow. But when you bring it, like when you bring the grass back, you would have additional color range, so it all, you know, pops a little more, and it would be a nice range, because so far it's like your sky is also like the whole image, it's a little bit magenta red. Your sky is more cyan here, cyan blue, and this is like a red blue. So they're a little bit different in the tone, which is they shouldn't be. They should be kind of same piece. Like this one is getting sort of closer because it's getting more cyanish, but this guy, it's just too much of the blue red to me. Okay, any questions on that? Because you're here, if you have any questions, I can just answer it right now. It's just, guess I need to wait for YouTube to catch up. There is nothing in Discord going on. That's good. Or, you know. Okay, cool. Moving on then. No problem. So another one from Steph. It's basically a cleanup. Pretty good one. I really like the idea of pushing this trees and this one behind uh, the houses. It's kind of a genius, actually. Like, I wouldn't, like, when I saw it, I was like, oh man, that's an actually great idea. So you don't have to worry about all of this as a snow and like how is you just push it back and you're done with this. Yeah, it's a pretty good cleanup. It just needs to be a bit cooler and all, going all with all the elements for the snow. And it's gonna be awesome. Okay, last one on the difficulty. This guy. Yes, this one, it looks easy, guys, but this area, I have to say, that's like no joke. Like, I don't know, I would probably spend like a kind of couple of days myself just working here if I really would like to keep like majority of it. If I would just go and say, okay, I'm really just covering with the snow, but I'm keeping everything. That's a lot of work. This is like no joke, 100%. So whoever's doing this, which is so far Etienne and Diogo, you guys, you got yourself a challenge, and really curious to see what's going to be at the end of it. So let's go with Etienne. I think it's Etienne. I think I'm saying this right, hopefully. So this one, it's a pretty good start. It's really, really, really nice. The main problem and the main challenge here would be to keep those elements extracted nice, because they're it's so fine, like structures and all those branches and trees and everything. So when you do just a simple mask extraction, you can just lose it because it's noisy. I would maybe try denoise it first, and just for this kind of elements, and see if I can extract it more with the denoised plate, or go back and just paint back in the mask or paint in the color. You can't really see the difference here. Should all work. Yeah, I like this idea. It's all of this, and it's all right idea. It's unfortunately, because this is just a color correction, it's all flat. So you need to bring a bit of a detail back into this. Like, you keeping all those trees is all fine, all works. Like, here's nice. Here it's all a little bit, I would expect to see a little bit more details. Like even here you can still see there is something going on. It's obviously like, hits of light and stuff, and you can play that. Or do we have anything here? Yeah, like even like here, it's kind of flat, but you still have this and this range, and it all helps. It all helps to bring it to that level of like, hey, there is a snow banks, or hey, there is a massive coverage of snow which is nobody walked on, and nobody basically did anything to it. Like this area obviously was heavily snowed, but there's a good example of like, hey, here's the snow on the roof, and you can use this as a reference, and this is snow basically fell at some point, and all that kind of stuff. So if we go back, so the rooftops and the masking of the rooftops in general, a little bit too harsh. They need to be played a little bit down. The overall, it seems like it's kind of crunched. And I know the plate doesn't really, like, I think this plate I opened, I played a little bit, I think with the with the black levels. So I brought a little bit, like brought back a little bit of a light, because I think it's too dark, and then when you color correcting it, you're kind of crunching it, so it goes a little bit too contrasty here. Like overall, then it's kind of muddy and you don't really see what's going on, which is here you still see this kind of stuff. And you have to remember, the snow will, if you have a snow on this, it will reflect light back, so you would see more reflected light. Like you would see more reflected light everywhere. The shadows, like this shadow you added, which is this one, you need to be a little bit, it's a little bit too diffused. Like this is the good example here, and your actual shadow from the plate, like you can see it's getting diffused more here, but here it's pretty crisp and sharp, so you kind of have to maintain it. The shape could be this, okay. I'm not against the shape, but the diffusion of it, it's a little bit unrealistic. So you're adding snow on the trees, which is good. Which no, it's all right. So the sky, yeah, you're changing more to the winter ones. Be careful with this one, because I don't really understand what's happening. It feels like there's just a brush strokes, because those kind of clouds, they want to affect the mountains that way. Like those big ones, yes, they could obscure parts of it, but if you go for your like thin ones, they won't. So you'd probably, they either need to bring back what's there. Is it there's anything? Yeah, you can bring those guys back. Maybe change the shape if you don't want to reconstruct what was in the clouds here and here. And you can probably then play this shape a little bit differently if you want to, because you're changing here quite a bit. And it kind of breaks a little bit, because then the snow, I don't understand why. Like I get it why it's here, because this is actually a slope, but when you see it on yours, it's just like, okay, why is this happening this way? Like it should be more kind of like on the same page. And it's a little bit noisy here, which is, I assume, from the channel mask. Like I said, maybe if you change if you denoised your plate, and like, yeah, watch out for those guys. It's all right ideas there. This is like just technical execution. It's what's the tricky basically part, and it's a big part of the matte painting. Like technically nailed it as well, so it'll be there, but then you just like, okay, so now let's say this is all locked, this is all good ideas, now let's go and finish it for real. Like bring those last 10-20%, which just makes it photoreal. Not sure what's going on here, and I would probably either grade it more, but more like with the sky color instead of this, because this is more on the red magenta side, and you have to go on a little bit like blue red sort of bit more, so you push it a little bit back, and maybe less harsher selection, because you have this edges, which is like the atmosphere is doing the blurring for you, so there's like the far away elements, they're never crispy sharp, especially if you're not like bringing the whole thing in. When you just if you selected and cut at the mountain range from somewhere else, then yeah, it could be all nice and crispy, and the compers will basically defocus it, or do the edge blur and stuff. But when you're using the existing element, and then yeah, like we're missing here, which is it's not anything critical, it's just some elements. But damn it. But yeah, I would pay attention also to this kind of stuff. But overall, it's very good. It's very good. And let's go to the last one from Diogo. So this one is also good. A little bit blurry on my side. It's kind of a blurry than the plate. Again, you either cropped it or using a different plate. Maybe it was some other images provided. I'm just using whatever is right now on a website, so maybe it's different. Like the icicles idea. Yeah, it's all there. It's a little bit like the whole thing is a little bit too warm. I would color correct snow like this one is. This is from Conrad's reference, right? So if we go here and we do this, it's like, okay, could be. Which one should we try? That? No. It's not. No, those guys. Whoa, what did I do? Nope. I mean, overall. Maybe a little bit. Anyways. It's probably not right, but just, oops. Yeah, that's not what I selected. Here you go. Yeah, so I would keep, or I would correct the grass close to this one, even if you are correcting your grass like to your level, say. Like something. I would still have something with the snow because it's reflecting the blue sky. I would keep the snow in this range. Like you would have like some blues in it. And then we'll basically keep it pretty nice. But yeah, you can keep grass as yours, or you can, it's up to you, or you can bring your stuff to this reference. Doesn't really matter at this point. It's not this critical. I would keep this, guys. Oops. Same. And this one I would probably also keep, just, you know, if you covered this with the snow, I would keep this because it adds some nice details and this nice kick with, like, you know, reds, and this is concrete, and it's just nice to see. Yeah, and bring back all evergreens to the plate level. But overall, it's very good. I like with this snow on top going on. Also need to pay, I guess, a little bit more attention to the masks. Like some of them are, like, your elements are a little bit like too crisp. Like overall, it's defocused, and you're going with your elements. I mean, you can export them obviously later if you do it on a separate plate and blur them and everything. But I would just keep in mind there's a little bit of a crazy sharpness going on here. Maybe Like this is the obvious like cut because see. Like I would just be more careful with this once. Keep it here. Those guys. This amount of snow is good. I would also probably keep the contrast and the colors from the plate because it's a bit crunchy. It's a little bit on the crunch side. This one I would extend this snow because it's a little bit too convenient. It's like, okay, here's the snow, here's a big amount of snow, and this is snow powder here, but nothing is here, which is kind of strange to me. Like, what happened? Why? But yeah, I would just extend it or be like less like irregular shapes or something like this because so far as it's too nice. Like somebody just poured the water and it's just frozen and it got some sort of a snow on top of it. Yeah, but otherwise it's very good. All of you guys doing pretty good job on this challenge. It's really technical and it's really difficult one. So you have to be patient with all the elements. You have to think, you have to go back and forth. You have to have quite a bit of references to just go and check what's going on in the actual winter situation. How would you see the elements, like what element stays this way, what element stays that way. The light could be depends on the day and all the snow colors and things. Like it's all like when you start color correcting just an image and because you look at the image for so long, you start to adjust to it and you also start to love it no matter what. You just think it's like it's fine, it's going great, it's like that's what's exactly how it's supposed to be in real world until you just see the reference and then it's like, oh, okay, that's what's happening, that's what we need to do with this. And yeah, you just have to go back and forth all the time. You have to also have a rest from the image, so just switch for half an hour and something else, then come back, or just switch for half an hour for the references and get into the references and just random references of winter and see, just look through the images and snow and stuff, and then come back and you would immediately see like, oh, that's what I'm lacking. This is not what the not right color of the snow, or not the right shade, or hey, there's not right coverage, or hey, maybe you see something like you go and you see like stuff like this and it's like, oh, okay, this is kind of cool, like this shape, and it could be both. You can, if you would do one of the other, some people would make like, okay, maybe, but one, they're not consistent way, they could be inconsistent. Maybe somebody just for some reason cleaned it, and then you have here, which is some whatever birds or animals or was running on the rooftop, and yeah, all sorts of things. You can have snow like this, yes, that's what you guys doing, and it's fine. It's totally what it is. This is how it works. It's you can tell by the snow it's been quite some time because there's no fresh snow except like this one was untouched, but the rest is kind of like, oh, okay, it's been a couple of days probably, so maybe it was a windy and the wind basically just blew the snow away from the rooftops or everything or anything like that. And yeah, but you can have stuff like this, which is, and I understand it's really hard because you can kind of tell, it's like, oh man, but it's flat. Yes, it is, but it's kind of not, because you still see those shingles a little bit. You can see it's all in details. This is the the main difficulty of this challenge and the main difficulty in matte painting in general. It's like it's all in the subtleties. It's like, hey, there is a color difference, hey, there is a difference between this and this, and there is a difference in even in shade, and there is a difference here. And if you just you think you won't see it, but your brain kind of does. It sees the difference and it's like, okay, this is real. Like even here you can see, yeah, it's artifacts. It's obviously compressed image, and some of them is just the color artifacts. But you still can see there is a difference going on with all these elements, like with like, hey, oh, here's the snow, and yeah, this is flat. Yeah, I can tell you that this is 100% flat. You just paint this, like nobody gonna notice. You just paint this with your brush. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. It depends on your plate. Your plate, if we're talking about the industry, standards plate, your plate would have a lot of information in it. So that's why you have to pay attention to the references you're using, because if the references you're using, they don't have enough information, they don't have enough detail, it would never work. It would always be like, hey, this is flat, this is lacking details, this is lacking colored, variations. It all depends what you're working with. So in our case, we're not, we're not going like full on, hey, we're gonna be like, doing for the movie, and we're not going like full on whiplash. It's not, quite my tempo, guys. A little bit more, a little bit less. I kind of like don't like what's going on here. No, we're not doing that. But it's just, to keep in mind, and to basically, understand how what's the difference between, say, just a matte painting you're doing for yourself, and what you might, if you're interested. Obviously, if you're just doing this for yourself, then if you're not want to be, or if it's not on your radar to be a matte painter in this small, medium, or big studio, just don't worry about it. I mean, you can do whatever you want. It's just like, if it's just for fun, if it's a hobby, then that's great. You can do whatever you want. If you actually want to push your work to be a professional in the industry, then you have to pay attention a lot to a lot of stuff. You have to go and see the world, and pay attention to the things like, hey, okay, there's trees, and there's a snow like this, and here and there, like the evergreens. I would, with the image. Which one is this one? This one. Here's an example. So you then go and you bring it in, you isolate it, just flip it maybe, or something like this. And obviously it's, it has to be more sunsetty and everything, but you see in evergreens, that's what we still have those greens. And if you correct them, they would still have the shaded type of corrected but type of greens. You can still tell, yeah, that's the fir tree, whatever. But overall, like I said, you guys are doing a great job, and I'm really happy to see all the progression. I'm kind of a little bit sad. A lot of people, myself included, started the pages with the challenge, but say, like, I don't know, maybe like 30% doing something or showing something. I think some of you probably not really satisfied with the results, so you don't want to show it. Maybe could be a case. I don't know. Just don't worry about it. This is what it is. This is like the main purpose of this challenge, so people will try. And even if you're way off, if you're doing something completely different, not what it's supposed to be, it's still fine to show. Then at least you would know where to go, because people will guide you, or I can tell you, it's like, no, this is not what you do, but this is what you do. And it's actually, it's a pretty simple. You can break it down into the simple steps, and just follow those steps, and you're gonna be fine. You just need to know what to look for, and in what order, and what to pay attention to. And that's pretty much what is this all about.
Got a question for you to kind of expand that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like for those who are kind of starting this, they might get a little intimidated. They open up the image and they just go, well, I don't know where to start, or I don't know what to exactly look for to know where to start. So, like on that difficulty one that Diogo and the other person's painting, what would be your first approach? If you've gotten the references and you have that set up, what would be your first approach on starting the actual map painting?
On this one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like when you're looking at this, what would be going through your mind of, okay, here's what I need to do first, second, third, here's what I gotta fix up, here's how I might go about it.
Mm-hmm.
What would you kind of do?
Well, so this one, say, obviously depends, if we're talking just about just a picture, right? Like, or some
Mhm.
sort of an establisher, and we need to cover, like, the first thing I would start, if I feel like I need to do something but I'm procrastinating, I would start with the rooftops, because rooftops to me here is like the most straightforward thing. You would start adding stuff. It's like all more or less, it has the same angle as majority of the photos, on the internet and all that stuff. Or you can even like get some ground photos from, like, do we have it here, I wonder. And like you can have some ground photos, like, I don't know, from here somewhere. And depends, if you go for this kind of look, you can start, adding those elements on top, and see, like, some of them has a lot, some of them has not. Like this one probably would have more because it's more flat, so I would accumulate here more, accumulate here more. Here would be probably have like some, some rooftop going like sort of uncovered because of, maybe, I don't know, the wind or something like this, or just to make some interest. Like those guys, I would, pretty much do what the guys are doing, and is just like um as a channel extraction, and add some sort of like a
For
powdery.
for something like this, that foreground is what's going to sell it.
So foreground, this is pretty much, yeah, it's gonna be either make it or break it to me. And
Mm.
I would try, again, if it's like pure DMP, so then I would try to extract these guys as much as possible. Or I would try to find, the winter birch trees, sort of, and just clean it up and put the snow, and then bring this kind of the same type of the trees back. Because
Mm.
it's, like I said, it's kind of it's really tricky. You can go, and if you really feel adventurous, you can go and you just paint, you just, mask it out like crazy. Because unfortunately, it's in if we go to the channels, like green, blue, red. What would be red? Na, 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 na. Yeah, well, I mean, you see what I mean. It's like you still have this, a lot of that going on, so you can probably, extract it and paint it and make something up. But those, like, this area is basically needs the most attention, and it will probably take a lot of work. Like this one, I've seen, in the real life, I've seen matte paintings where this would be covered with the snowbank covering this tree. It wouldn't be even an extension. And if it's, if you make it look right with the snow, until you go and do, oh, back and forth, you wouldn't even notice, like, oh, we're actually cutting the tree. But it's just because it's the snow, kind of like it's there, and it's believably there, so you were fine. With this one, yeah, I was thinking the other day, I would, like, with what I'm doing right now, I would try to do like speed tree, like a birch tree, and I would just clean it, and I would just add 3D guys there, just on top, because that would be easier. If there is no 3D, then you kind of have to do like a bit of a,
Mask the hell out of it.
hmm?
mask and paint the hell out of it.
Yeah, unfortunately, because this is not, the easy. The worst case scenario, you can just go and you just don't add a lot of snow. You can just add snow here, and there, and be really careful so we won't, hand placed. You can still do maybe a little bit, and then you can avoid like this area. If it's too painful, you can say, oh, I don't know, maybe there's something happened here, and like you have a little bit of less of a snow coverage and here as well, and you just have it maybe here, but they kind of clean it, or I don't know, something. So it depends. It really depends. If it's on you, then you can make the story. If it's on the client, then well, it depends what they're gonna buy. If they're not gonna buy it, if they want to see, oh no, we want to see the snow everywhere, then okay, it has to be a solution. Or worst case scenario, I would just then go and I would keep those guys, uh, the little this fear trees, and I would just remove those, just clean it up, or make it like they're really small, sort of a thing. Then I would keep those. But for the challenge, there is no, if it's only 2 weeks, and obviously it's not your full-time job. So for the challenge, I would just maybe, if everything else works, I would just then clean it up and cover it with something else. Like, okay, who cares? Just clean this area, bring snow here, keep it this. If you really want to go, for real, then okay, yeah, we're keeping those guys. It's an additional challenge, but you can just remove it. Depends on what's your story about this piece. That's what I would do. I would probably try to, I would try to do whatever I know. My strategy on any matte painting is, okay, I have questions, and I have or like areas where I'm in doubt, and until I'm in doubt, I'm doing something what I'm certain of. Okay, I know how to do this. I'm doing this. I know how to do this part. I'm doing this part. I'm keeping this part is okay. This one is fine. I find the element, I don't know, maybe a snowbank kind of covered this one. Okay, I know what I'm doing. This part, I'm not sure yet. I will keep it till the end. And if it's a challenge, then it depends. Okay, if it's just one day, then sorry guys, I'm gonna cover it. If it's like still three, kind of like 2-3 days, I will try probably a day to spend and maybe extract it and see if it's good enough, because it's kind of there. It's just basically this even works. It's just you need to have a little bit different snow, and you need to bring those guys back as trunks. And yeah, it could be, I mean, like you can lose
Uh,
majority kind of like of this, but you can still have those prominent branches, and it still would work. But oh, sorry. But yeah, that's my take on it.
I think that's going to be helpful for people because it's kind of knows some people are like, oh man, I got this whole foreground and it's a lot of masking and painting to just put something behind it.
Yeah.
That is part of the job sometimes even at work, but it again, like you said, it all depends on what the lead or the soup needs done. But for this case, yeah, it's best just to either clean it all up and then replace on top.
Yeah.
Um, but it's good to know both ways, though.
Yeah, no, it's
Uh,
it's it's all it's all at the end of the day, it all depends on, on your task. And if it's like I said, for say if it's a for movie, and say it's an establisher, so there is no camera move or anything like this. Uh Unless it's the, time lapse, I'm pretty sure nobody would care. Like, you can probably, again, in the studio, they would probably, this nowadays it's easier, somebody will provide you with some sort of a trees, which is you can just put on top as a 3D, just clean it up. I would just like, if that would be my shot and I would be, supervising this, I would say, okay, we're fine, we will find those guys. This probably may stay like this. this one, this one. This one is kind of unique, so we can, and it contrast enough, I think we can save it. But these guys, we can just replace them. We can replace them with sort of the same type of the trees on top of a clean plate, and yeah, you're pretty much done for this. But the rest is still needs to be with the snow thing. But it's all straightforward. Like you can have a little bit less snow in this area, like whenever you want to put it, so you don't have to go crazy with the masking here if you don't have time. You can have here. The amount of snow on these areas will sell it. Amount of snow, the right amount of snow on rooftops will sell it. It's already sort of late fall, so it's halfway there. It's not like you changing which one is this guy. Like this guy, it's full on hey summer to hey winter, which is, you know, in my career, once I did the opposite. I did this to this, which was a requirement. But it's way easier, because then you have kind of winter, this kind of stuff, and you just painting out the snow. And sometimes you have on the winter ones, you luckily have the trees like this, which is they're green. You just correct them a little bit into the summer, and then you can replace all of this ground with the actual, you know, grass and all that stuff. So I mean, it was just once, but it was kind of, you know, interesting and funny enough, because usually it's the opposite way. Nobody wants to change the winter to the summer one. But yeah, so that would be my take. Hopefully, hopefully it helps. But again, like I said, it's all, you have to, when you look at the plate, you have to, for the challenge at least, you have to kind of like understand and break it down for yourself and realize, okay, maybe like if I would have only 1 week, I would definitely go for this one, because this is it. This is 1 week. Yeah, I can see it, 1 week job. That could be a no-brainer. It's like straightforward, easy, technical, listening to Spotify, half an hour cleaning up those guys, then, you know, spend maybe like a couple of hours looking for the references here, there. You start with the road, you got your road looking, okay, now everything has to tie to the road, and, you know, then I would do the rooftops. Then the rooftops are done. I would probably, if I have time, I would do those guys. A little bit of snow here, here, done, pretty much. It's just to find 1 or 2, I would say, probably. I mean, this part maybe will take a little bit more, or maybe even depends what you can find as a reference. But this is as straightforward as it could be. And you can have a little bit maybe snow. I would add just on the edge, and I would suggest, oh, but they, you know, they cleaned the sidewalks like this, so they just have like snow maybe a little bit here and there, but overall they're nice, and, you know, they cleaned it. It's like a little powdery. But that's pretty much it. Like I said, this one, well, you go with your, you know, hue saturation, and you bring it down to sort of this fall looking thing. Then you start adding the snow. Here's the, you know, the indication where it's like, okay, you keep those trees, just desaturate them a little bit. Like those trees can keep a little bit desaturated, maybe add a little bit of sprinkle of snow. This could be snow and grass and snow and grass and snow and grass. Here is a little bit trickier, because you have a lot of these bushes, which is gonna cover your buildings. Then you go here with the replace of the element, just, you know, keep the shadows, keep here probably desaturated. Like this area is a little bit of, you know, would need a little bit of work. This one, either keep the grass, replace the green parts with the snow, probably snow, can keep this, snow on the rooftops, snow bank here, big one, if you want to go easy. If you don't want to go easy, reconstruct, make up something here, and then add snow here, or keep the grass and add some in between, sort of a snow banks. And yeah, that would be it. Yeah, this one, well, I don't know. I need to try it myself. It looks scary, actually. Like, when I look at it, it looks scary. Like, if you do it for real. It's just, you can play it like this reference. If you want an easy life, then play it like this. So keep the trees, bring the snow. Like, I would just, for the color references, I would just then go and just like, okay, like those guys. Like, to keep it. And you start building on that. Okay, this is your green level. You need to probably, contrast could stay. You maybe need color corrected a little bit. And you have this snow. And with this kind of stuff, those stays, those probably painted desaturated, there is a snow. Or, cover with the bigger chunks of snow if you don't want to paint it out. Just this big chunk of snow, this big chunk of snow. Here, well, that's a little bit of a probably, masking, painting snow on top, rooftops. This guy, I would just clone this area here, make something up for the trunk, and do this extension again here. Yeah, keep the fence, put the snow here. Should work. 2 weeks should be enough, hopefully. This one, yeah, kind of same, I guess. You can go full on and just replace the whole thing. Like, okay, screw it, just like leave this, guys. Maybe not even, maybe create something similar, or maybe just have a suggestion. Maybe, if you keep the hills and you have like one pathway, because that would be, I guess, in real life, there would be just one pathway, sort of. And yeah, those guys, it's a lot of work. This all could play as a winter trees, just added snow, color corrected, like remove all the greens, desaturate the greens, and or add the snow, or color corrected to the snow level, or find something. Jonathan saying, yeah, it is a lot. It is a lot to do. Yeah, so you can probably even find the similar element like this. Like, I don't think we have it here, but somewhere you can just find the element which looks like, like snow covered. Like, you can copy this part. Let's see if you can copy this part. Can you? Because sometimes you're just like, yeah, you can, and then you bring it. It's like, nope, you cannot. That's not gonna work. Been there multiple times. Like, I don't know. Probably not matching the scale whatsoever. But. Okay. Okay, now let's find some. Oops, let's find something suitable for this one. Like the hills, they're supposed to be not hills. They're supposed to be like this kind of way, which is, you bring the element, you just like go and you fade it, you color corrected it a little bit to whatever you need it to be, more like blue, cyan, whatever. If you look closer, like you just need to, play with the colors. You can probably just need to desaturate the whole thing, or like edit it as a blue, because you don't see a big difference here and here. It's just like it's obviously green, and that's why you see it. If you remove that green, if you desaturate it with your either brush or the whole thing all together, it'll just work. And then like then just work with those guys. These guys would be, and what I would do, I would just remove this, and I would add just some PNG winter trees, like scale it down so the trunk matches in here and here, and just that would be, we're done with this. This could be like, I don't know, is the gobo tree still the thing? Plants, okay. Boom, my god, it's all there. I didn't know they updated it that much. Are they? I don't know.
What is that website? Sorry.
It's the gobo tree. They used to have, like, it's been for for a while. I think the last time I basically checked it was a couple of years ago. Now they added people and apparently objects and what. Whoa, okay. I'll check it out later.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's basically here. They used to have, which is, I think if you go plans and filter, and okay, so you can now do the filters. Translucent. What I'm looking at is what's that?
This site's amazing. Jesus.
Yeah, so you see, you have a tree like this, and you just basically, you get this tree, and it's pretty good resolution. Like, I mean, sometimes you can have some problems with the masking, but nobody cares with this kind of like scale. You bring this tree here, done. You got another tree. Whoops, where is it? You got another tree. You done with that. And I'm looking for, actually, which it seems like they have, these guys, for example. You go these guys, you select them, and you put them here, and you can cut this, and you put maybe somewhat here, and it will immediately sell it as a window. Like, I don't know price wise, are they pricey or not, because it's been, I think they have a subscription or something. I don't really know, but yeah, so that would be, how would I do? I would try to find, they used to have some sort of like tree lines of summer and winter, because I remember using them like 5 years ago, and they had way less selection, but now they seems like have crazy amount of trees and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, so the winter ones, which is, they're really on top of the game, because not many websites have the trees with the snow, which really helps.
Yeah, those are great. Those are great.
Yeah, so that's I'm sorry it's a little bit like late for some people, because they spend probably a week doing something which is they can just replace with like one photo or two. So sorry about that. I forgot about it, and yeah, but that could be it. This guy, yeah, we talked about it. So did I cover everything? Yeah, I guess I covered them, right? Because this one, yeah, this is just an image, and that's the image. Yeah, so that's how I would go. But again, as many people we have, as many workflows and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so we're 10 minutes away from 2 hours. If anybody have any questions, I would, happy to answer it. We probably need to catch up with YouTube a little bit on that.
I'm looking on YouTube right now for you.
I have a question.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, Ian.
Yeah.
Oh, no, go ahead. I'm reading through comments on
Okay.
YouTube.
So I'm doing. I didn't upload anything because I'm still like, you wouldn't have much to comment because I'm so early in the process. But I'm doing the one with it's one of the hard difficulty ones with the path
This
and
one.
the hill in the front. Yes, that one. And so I'm replacing the whole front with just a big bunch of snow. I'm not trying to integrate. I might bring back grass, but I'm trying to replace all of everything with a big snowbank. How would you integrate the kind of the edge of the snowbank where it meets the trees and kind of meets the buildings? Because like for me right now, it still kind of looks like just a crisp line, and I guess I was just kind of planning on using channels and color correcting and trying to fake a shadow, right? Where
Right.
it would be under the trees and stuff like that.
Right. Okay. I would basically what I would do. I would just go and I would check. I would go on the internet and I would check the references and basically see what's here. So this kind of stuff, which is it will be the line. It wouldn't be like it probably won't be the just a straight line, but it still would be probably harsh line unless you are blending in a way like here. See, it's like it's all sort of a banks, and here under the trees they even have some patches of grass because it was it was just falling, so it didn't get there. But I would probably just would go ahead and I would just keep it, this is the snow bank, and you just go and kind of
With no.
it's obviously just a shape, but and you play with like those guys. But the more if you bring enough irregularity of the shape of the edge and enough volume of a snow, it will sell. Because you basically you would still have, it's like a grass, like even if you look at the grass here, it's still kind of a line, right?
Right.
And yeah, it's fuzzy just because it's grass, but if there would be, say, bare land, there would be a line as well. With these trees, I would just, what I would do, I would find either bottom of the trees photo references with the snow and try basically to kind of like put them and mask them out, or I would just find a couple of snow banks and just mask it in here. But I would just the treatment on the grass as it's a fall grass and all that kind of stuff, and it should work. I probably would just go and like cover like this thing as a snow bank. And
Yeah, I'm covering pretty much. It snowed a lot.
yeah
In mine.
you have to because otherwise there would be 2 months of like if you're doing this after work, if you're doing this 1 or 2 hours a day, it will be like a month. So you'd hate it at the end because it's, unless you like the technical side of it that much, then I don't think anybody would be like, oh, I'm really enjoying it for like months of cutting a little bit of pieces and putting it together. It's, I don't know. So yeah, I would totally do that. I would just replace it, I guess. At least I would start with this, and I'm trying. It's not every time, but I'm trying to keep my images, as a progressive JPEG sort of a thing. When you kind of see the whole thing on every stage, so you can. It's not obviously like every stage, but say every like second or third stage, you can say, okay, we can probably keep this for now. Like if you slap two big or three big images here and blend them enough, and they're not 100% represent here, but they're believable enough, it's a snow coverage, and then you go for the, because there's a lot of work on the rest of the image, and if you have time, yeah, you can change it. If you don't have time, it's fine, but it still works, right? If you have
Right, right,
just an elements, when you just have, oh, this is the mask, this is I painted, this is like the light is not right, this is needs work, this is the grass and things, then yeah, it kind of doesn't make any sense. You just have to go, like in the painting, I guess you go with the broad strokes, and then you refine where you need to refine later on. And how, I mean, the best thing is like we have, if it's the photo elements and textures detailed enough, then you're halfway there. You just need to, it's all color correction on that point. It's just like, okay, nice blending and the color correction, and right scale. With, if it's the different sources, then you just watch for the scale and go from
right,
there.
right. Okay, thank
The
you.
No problem.
the only thing I would add with that is just from my own experience of painting snow recently, is they want to see, if this was in a studio, they would want to see the same contour of the landscape
Mm-hmm.
following along with the snow.
Yeah.
That way it feels like it's the exact same place. So always keeping that in mind as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That it would be I mean, it's doable. It's just more work, technically speaking,
yeah,
right?
it just takes time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the snow again in the studio, and it comes, and I kind of hate to bring it in, and I know it's more about matte painting, but the reality of thing is, if that would be a real task, you would have, unless it's super small studio on no budget whatsoever, and they just need to go full on 2D matte painting because reasons, then you would either have it yourself, or you can ask somebody to help you with the basic shape of the landscape, and then you go and you do the 3D fake shaded blobs of snow, and at least then you would
Right,
have,
right,
you would have at least the same profile of the landscape, and you would say, okay, here's the hill, here's the drop, like, okay, hill, drop, hill, drop, hill, whatever here, and you can, like, stick some things if they want to see it the same. And you know there are a bunch of PBR snow there, and you can play with the noises. It's a little bit advanced in on 3D side, and you would basically either have help, or you can learn it yourself and try. It's the whole different topic on that, is like, what would you do? Because for real is just, I would go and I would speed tree the shit out of it. I would just like clean this up all, add the snow. Probably would start, if we have a layout or sort of a layout, I would start with the CG snow, CG trees, clean up. There's 3 steps. Like clean up first, and then bring CG trees and the CG plate. And then when you need it, then you add the photo textures on top. Again, depends, in the studio. Are we moving? We're not moving. Is it like a dolly move? Is it just establisher? Is this like, crane, we're panning up, panning down? What's happening? Because it's all could be, if it's just like, hey, 2 seconds, bum bum bum, John's house, blah blah blah, 12 o'clock. Then one thing, if it's like, oh no, we're gonna a little bit go up, somebody's walking here, are they walking? Then they would probably have fake snow like here, like that would be all fake snow. And if you have, as soon as you have fake snow, you have to stick to it. You have to, like, you cannot then go and like, oh, this is crazy storm, and the fake snow looks like it's it's a drizzle, whatever, it's like powder. it never looks like it's a snowbanks. So then you would have that problem saying like, yeah, you can't really go with like nice fluffy whatever going on. It could be still gonna be green stuff. They might try to do something here and here, or so, it depends what's the shot. Here is like, again, this is more, if we're talking about the shot is so wide, that's like a projection, right, of like a couple of frames stitched. So your actual frame would be like, I don't know, like this maybe, and then this is your part, and you panning, say, from either like left to right or right to left, whatever they want to show, what's happening. I don't know, but yeah. So that's, unless they completely crazy and they just say we're gonna roto, say this is the shot, we're gonna roto the girl, and we're replacing everything, then you know that's another thing. That's, but you know, in 2D you can do it 2D. You obviously crazy limited if you do it in 2D, and sometimes they don't understand that, unfortunately. And you know, you can you know, majority of the time they might even like say, hey, can we clean up or replace it with a grass because we're gonna do the comp treatment, like the stuff I was talking, what it was, the art of VFX, the art, sorry, with the current wars. Can I find it? Current war. That was that, right? This one. It's, I'm like certain it's half of it is a comp treatment. Like, you know, like what here, you know, they don't even keep anything like colors. Forget about it. What are you talking about? Like, nope, we keep red. That's fine. We add the snow. This is matte painting. Matte painting. This is probably matte painting or comp. They might do the treatment and they will give you the frame, and then you fix the treatment. But it looks like it's either, you know, DMP or just straight up comp treatment, or you know, they comped a little bit on top, but they didn't care about any of like keeping colors, keeping it all like, you know, naturally, sort of like you can tell this is like Luma key going on. Like this one, yeah, it is replaced. Okay. So
Desaturated,
yeah,
put white in the highlight, and we're good.
yeah. It's like boom, done. And again, I haven't seen the movie. I have no idea what's going on. Is it long shot? Is it like, is it something happening? Is this? You can also, you know, add a bunch of sounds, and you just show it for like split second, just because you know you need a difference in a season done, or you probably need to just show, oh, okay, he is inside the big plant. That's what it is, and it's winter because of whatever. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't seen the movie, unfortunately. But yeah, so that's, you know, in general, it's nice to try to keep the landscape, but again, it's a challenge, right? It's all like if we're going, then so yeah.
Any questions on YouTube? But
Seems like I'm, unfortunately, if somebody logged in on YouTube and can just type and ask if anybody has any questions, because if somebody is watching and they're on, not on Discord, so they're gonna have a little bit of a delay. Yeah, thanks, Ian.
well, okay, so keep the conversation going a little bit. So for um, dealing with like those trees on the buildings and such, because I'm sure you'll have run into this problem. How would you get snow onto those rooftops? Would you just cover it up with an image, or and mask out an image, or hand paint the snow? When actually, here's a better question
Mhm.
for you. When would you hand paint snow versus photo bash snow? Because I think that might help people.
So hand paint, I wouldn't hand paint like personally myself. I know it depends on your skill. I know people who can hand paint quite a lot and more complex things than the snow. Myself, I'm not a painter per se, so my painting, actual painting, with the paint and everything, is pretty bad. I'm not a painter, and I know it's a matte painting, but it's not. I'm not, unfortunately. So say this image, and like I would paint stuff on top of, say, like somewhere some difference. So I would do, and I would paint some stuff a bit more. Just paint some stuff like, I don't know, like here, there, a bit more careful than I'm doing right now. But I would just add some, like, those kind of whatever I feel like elements which is need just a touch of snow or this kind of stuff. This area, it's kind of a blend. So this one, at least you can channel select, and you can have still the difference in the texture. This one I would straight up try to either do like it's really even hard to tell. I don't know if it's gonna look good or not, but like this reference, which is, I think it's pretty good example. Keep going to this picture. Like I
See
would
like
try
the bump on it.
I
Yeah.
would try to do something like this. So you can still
Fair
keep
enough.
like the texture of the rooftop, or you go like just this, or just as crazy as that. Depends. You just have to understand, if you go in this or you go in this only with your rooftops, then you have to have this amount of snow. You cannot have it just like, oh, it's a little bit and we can see the grass and it's a little bit of like a powdery, but then you have this crazy amount on the rooftop. This is not gonna work. Then you go with this certain kind of like stuff, which is, you can still, you can do channels, and you can do maybe like then shift a little bit of an image, or you can use I mean, I was using, say, you have, whoops, that's not what I wanted. Like, you bring this guy just as a reference, keep it so you can look at what's going on. And what I would start with, if I don't want to use a lot of references and I want it to be consistent, then say we have same lighting scenario, I would might light those areas like here, and then we would have this. So you already have a good example. So then you go with your new layer, you go with your snow, you're like doing something, and then you can have a texture in it. That's one thing. Or on top, you then go and you do the stupidest thing ever. Where is it? This guy. And you just go and you say, here's my whatever, and here's my dark.
Yeah.
And you can start like, okay, it has to be like, okay, where's my light? My light is here. Here you go. And you go,
Trick to do, just emboss it a little bit.
yeah, and you just add, and you just like, just crisp it, maybe, the different brush. Then you do, you can erase it a little bit, and you can have like this
the erosion and wear and tear.
Yeah, and you can just play with this, and yeah, okay, mine is like too much. Then you play with the where is it? Is it smooth? Is it hard? Chisel hard, soft, and you just do this and you do that, and you just soften, and you have this, and you can
Mm-hmm.
start and see if it works, and then you just do the okay, it's too harsh, but
Yeah.
and just play. So it's also sometimes it comes to Photoshop tricks, and yeah, you probably need to bump a little bit more on your
Mm-hmm.
but you just adding the volume, so it's not just plain. There is something there. There is like accumulation goes over time, and there is like so
Mm-hmm.
so I would go
Yeah,
that way. Yeah.
yeah. For something like this, I'd mix it between those three things.
Yeah.
Embossing like this, the blend diff. I mean, you could even take that rooftop, desaturate it, put it on top, and make it look like it's a bump on top.
Yeah, you can do that. I
With
mean,
snow.
if you can find enough
Yeah.
references, like if you can find,
Mhm.
say, the rooftop like this, but without this snowbank, but just with this kind of stuff, you can already extrapolate it, and then the selective areas you want to, you just add a little bit more accumulation to make it more interesting or something like this. Like here, it's obviously just a shape, but it's I mean it's a photo which is not exposed properly, and it's clamped and everything. But yeah, you just
Mhm.
you just go like so
Yeah,
many
you can
times.
that difference. It looks real.
I have to tell you,
Yeah.
like, so many times for this stuff, like cracks and things, and like the bevel and emboss was like just a way to go, and it was enough. And then I don't know, you merge them, and then you maybe add some textures on top, or you maybe just like
Mhm.
just paint in or out a little bit. And but the majority, because you already, like, you would have a consistent light and the shadow, you don't have to worry about on the big areas, which is you go, and if you do like piece by piece, and it's not the same rooftop, you eventually will have some areas when it won't match good enough, just because it
Mhm.
would be a little bit different of light and the colors, and that kind of stuff.
Mhm. Awesome.
Yeah,
That's
so
a cool trick. I think that'll help those who are watching of like the bevel and boss and
yeah,
play with it a little bit.
yeah, for the rooftops, for like to add a little bit of, you have a big snowbank, and there's not enough
Mhm.
details in photos, you can just like the trick is always to have a reference, so then
Mhm.
what to look at, like, oh, okay, it's this one. How do like open the image and try to think, because we all, you have to be at this point, if you're not you know senior math painter, you have to be a senior Photoshop user, you know what I mean? So you kind of have to be like, okay, can we replicate this in Photoshop using filters, whatever, effects on top, whatever works,
Mhm.
paint.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
it's, yeah, that could be, oh, borrow the colors. There is like the color picking, this is the discipline to do that. It's good to be so cool, then you can just match it just looking at it. But I would just still double check and just pick it, because sometimes you see one thing and
Mhm.
it's not that thing.
Yeah.
And it's all about technical tricks, your knowledge of Photoshop, and overall knowledge of how nature works, and how kind of like art works, because the camera sees it's a little bit different than your eyes, which is you also have to adjust to that, and you just have to understand on what's happening. On top of everything, there is a technical issues of saying, hey, we don't want to see you know this crunched, because our grade is so crazy, it's going to be pitch black, and we don't want that. We want that to see any like some sort of a details, because when another thing, if you're doing this for movies, you're gonna see this image in a theater, it's gonna be so big, you're gonna see it's like this, and you just like, oh, okay, well, yeah, we kind of need to have a details, because when you're doing this and you're just like, well, this is my image, I don't know, I mean, it's kind of fine, it's okay, you're in the theater, you just like, you have to understand you're like little person like somewhere here in the bottom of the screen, you see it's like, what if it's
everything?
yeah, what if it's IMAX? Oh, come on, man, that's like, that's that's a deal breaker. That's we're done with this. Yeah, and I mean, the other thing is like the color balance, like all the references you're like, watching on and searching on the internet, it could be anything, like this is too yellow, and it's probably color corrected to the liking of the person who took the shot. Is it photoreal? I mean, to the certain degree. If it's like, it has to be just like this one, kind of in the more of a range, what I would assume it's still contrasty and everything. So like this one, yeah, it's your typical DSLR phone, whatever. So yeah.
That's awesome. I'm not seeing any questions on YouTube, but yeah, man. I mean, that was awesome. That was awesome to see, and even that little trick of just bevel and emboss and how to follow your reference.
Yeah, no problem. Hopefully, it helps, and hopefully people will carry on and finish the images they started. I know it's hard sometimes, and I dropped from multiple times from the challenges just because reasons. It's also understandable, but everybody's doing pretty good job, and I think it's gonna be awesome to see in a week what you guys gonna come up with, and how do you guys gonna finish. It's just the main thing, which is I notice, and if again, for those people who are starting or who are trying to transition from either one discipline into another discipline, or they just want to be a matte painter for the industry, not for just as a hobby, it's creative, but it's more technical. Like in the challenges like this, you have to be more technical, you have to be creative in a way of solving problems. That's where the creativity comes the most. You're creatively solving the problems, you're not just changing the image because you think, oh, okay, like sometimes it's the most boring image ever, and you have to work with this because it is a consistency of the project, it's the task and everything. So don't change play too much unless it's specifically said, hey, you can do it. Don't change the temperature too drastically. Sometimes it looks like right now everybody is like fascinated by, say, works from Stephen Carman. His works is amazing. The thing is, his works, it looks like what would actual project look like after grading. So there is already a lot on top of this. If you remove the lot, it wouldn't be that heavily color corrected or anything like this. Like the real project would be a little bit different. The real project would be more on this realm, which is you can color correct it as much as you want. You can have a beautiful image with the punching light and nice shadows, and like go more blue and everything, and but the working files and the files you're going to be dealing with, they're more like this. They're more just neutralized in terms of neutral gray and the shades of like colors to the neutrals, so you can just match it. You can match CG and everything. It's going to be Comper is going to tweak it a little bit at the end, but you also have to you have to remember it's going to be a lot on top. And the sometimes they provide, not sometimes, I mean most of the time, they provide the neutral grade lot, and they provide the temporary shot lot, and then you apply the light, and it could go either way. It could bump only blues, it could bump only magentas, and then without that knowing, say, because your image is so neutralized, your magentas is kind of hidden, but then you apply you apply the grade, and that's it. Your DMP changes, and you know, all your magenta is like popping out, and the rest of the plate is not, just because, you know, it was treated differently, or the color profile was different. It's the whole technical, you know, conversation. But what I'm trying to say, it's basically, for this one, try to keep it as much, you know, as close as plate as you can in terms of adding additional elements. You can replace big areas like grass with snow, trees with another trees, similar looking trees preferably, but you know, just don't jump and add some crazy mountains where it's like there's no mountains there. You can still do it if it's just for you, it's just for fun. Okay, go ahead. I'm just talking specifically right now to people who are planning to, you know, to switch into this as a full-time career, because you're gonna, if you kind of gonna, you know, a little bit train yourself not to do that. That's pretty much it.
Cool.
Alrighty, so that, I guess, concludes our feedback. Thanks everybody who was listening, or, and you know, who is gonna watch it later. It was fun. We might do it, you know, maybe again in the next challenge or something. Or if somebody wants to do the post-mortem after the challenge ends, just, you know, we can talk about it and maybe do a session when we see what's the end of, you know, the end result of this one. But yeah, it was fun. Thank you. Cheers everybody. Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
No problem. Bye.